let me start at the beginning. It's usually the best place, right? It was 1996. I was at sixth form college. 2 of the best years of my life, may I add. I'd got my first car, I'd hung out with a great group of friends, and one of whom was in an indie band, so we ended up going to lots of gigs and pubs, and oh God, so many pubs. Oh, it was great. Anyway, life was good, and it was happy times, until it wasn't. One day, just after Christmas, a boy called Paul Niels, who had been in my business studies class, just disappeared. And I don't mean flunked out to work in a pub like my friend Darren, who couldn't handle staring into any more books. This lad just upped and vanished. No sign of him. One day he was in class and the next he wasn't. His car just left in the college car park. No bag of clothes packed from home according to his parents, and no money taken from his account. His family were beside themselves, and when we all got called in to make statements to the police, no one had any information or leads for them to go on. It was just really sad. And anyway, weeks and months went by without any word from him. And that was nearly 30 years ago, and unbelievably, he's still down as a missing person.
There was a rumour at the time that before Paul Neal's disappearance, he'd received a number of VHS tapes from a stranger. On those tapes, supposedly, was footage of him, Paul, being recorded in secret. Footage of him getting into his car, leaving his house, all filmed from a distance and without his knowledge. He'd told friends that he had no idea who was sending them him, but that they were beginning to creep him out. The only discernible thing about the tapes was a purple X marked on each label.
About 4 months after Neil's disappearance, my friend Ange came into the college common room one day in a right flap. I mean, she was pretty much hyperventilating. And she threw a cassette down on the table and said she'd found it in her school bag the night before. She told us she'd played it, and on it was secret footage of her. It began with someone filming themselves driving in an eerie silence down roads she recognised and were near where we lived. And then it was footage of her working at her Saturday job in the bakery. She showed us the cassette itself, and on the label was this purple X scrawled on it in this obnoxious permanent marker. We all tried to calm her down, tell her it was a prank, but I remember feeling genuinely scared. It just felt really off. And we eventually get her to calm down, but then a few days later, she's driving to her job at the bakery, and on the passenger seat of her car, she finds this tape, another tape, with the purple X marked on it. And she swears she locked her car, but now she's convinced that someone's got her keys and has put it in there. But anyway, on this tape, this footage of someone following her and her friend Emma at the shopping mall, just following her eerily and recording her without her knowledge. She never knew how the person put it in her car, but I mean, someone creepy and deranged was just totally f***ing with her. She came around my house that night, crying, like completely freaking out, understandably, and she stays a while and calms down and somewhat, and then tells me that she's going to be all right, and so she just goes home, and that was the last time I ever saw her. In fact, it was the last time anyone ever saw her, and that was 30 years ago. And despite the VHS footage and our statements to the police, the person was never found, and nor was Ange. It's just one big, horrible, tragic mystery.
A few months after Ange's disappearance, most of Sal's social group went off to uni, and so went their separate ways, including Sal, who moved to the city of York to study. Paul and Ange's disappearances turned into cold cases, and no more tapes were sent or reported.
So, well, I live in London now and have 3 kids, 2 dogs and 1 ex-husband. In October last year, I received a WhatsApp. It was from an unknown number. I opened it, and it was a video. I clicked it, and it was a video of me being secretly filmed, walking down the street, local to me. To be honest, I thought it was one of my ex-husband's games to try and catch me out on something. I mean, the divorce had been messy, should we say, and I didn't think it was anything more sinister than that, even when the ex-hubby denied all knowledge of it. But then a few days later, I received another WhatsApp, same number, but this was much more terrifying. At first, I couldn't work out what it was. Footage of someone walking down an alleyway between some houses. It didn't mean much to me until I recognised the fence. And it was the alleyway at the back of my house. And this person was filming themselves, forcing their way into my garden. Oh, God, it was chilling. They were filming me in my house, and I was completely oblivious to what was going on. So now I am freaking out.
Sal called the police. They took a statement, but because the number wasn't recognised and no crimes other than trespassing had been committed, there wasn't much they could do other than tell Sal to keep an eye out for any unusual activity and to call 999 if she felt unsafe at any point. They even told Sal to re-watch the footage in case there was any clues pointing to someone she might know.
It was frustrating, but I watched the video back, and this time I did spot something I'd missed previous. The glove. I'd missed the purple X on the back of his glove. It was only fleeting, but I saw it, and it was scrawled just like the X on those videotapes. It was the same guy who was responsible for Ange and Paul's disappearance nearly 30 years ago, and he was stalking me. I was sure of it.
Now, scared for her life, she called the police again, but this time they showed more interest, as it showed a potential link with the cold missing person cases from Sal's past. And whether it was as a result of this increase in police interest or not, the videos stopped coming. For a few weeks, anyway.
The police were more present now, carrying out routine checks, things like that, which was reassuring, and I was calmer as a result. But then it all came to a head on the night of Halloween. I'd got the dates wrong with my ex, and so he ended up with the kids on Halloween night. I was gutted. I mean, the youngest two are still of an age where trick-or-treating is fun, and so I wanted to do it with them so much and get dressed up and go out together and go knocking on the neighbours' doors. But as it turned out, I was actually really thankful that they weren't around. I was all alone. I had a bucket full of sweets for the trick-or-treaters, and I just sat by the door like a sado, waiting for other people's happy kids. There was a steady stream, like amazing costumes, kids high on Halloween and sugar, as is usually the case. But towards the end of the night, when just the older kids with their questionable costumes are scavenging for what's left, my phone pinged, and it was another video, and it was of someone in a ghost outfit just staring at the camera, a sheet with eyes cut out. I mean, it was creepy as. And then when I saw it, I remembered that earlier in the night, a group had come to my door, trick-or-treating, like two pleasant enough kids, as I recall, with an adult wearing a similar ghost sheet. And it was the only type of costume I saw that night. And, I can't really explain, and I know it's Halloween and everyone's dressed up to scare, but maybe it was because he just didn't talk and just stared at me through the eyes of the sheet. But I remember it thinking it was just creepy, and it gave me the heebie-jeebies. Anyway, about a minute or so later, there was another video, and it was of the man in the ghost outfit filming himself on my street. And then you can see him latch onto two young trick-or-treaters. And then kind of with them approach my door. This crazy creep is filming whilst hiding under a costume, coming to my door on Halloween night.
Sal was beside herself at this point and goes to call the police. When there's a knock at her door, she answers it.
But there's no one there. It's too late for trick-or-treaters now, I reason, so I'm freaking out. I bolt the door shut, go around the back and double-check that everything is locked. And for a second time now, I go to call the police, but as I do, another WhatsApp pings with yet another video. And so I open it.
It's footage of this creep knocking the door only minutes before, as he continues in his twisted game. But worse is to come.